listening to The Five. I'm your host, Ross Wallace Chait. The Five is a podcast about music where on each episode, my guest selects 5 pieces that are in whatever way influencing their musical practice. We listen to each one and discuss why and how they stand out. My guest for episode 4 is Dent May. Born in Jackson, Mississippi, the singer-songwriter broke out in 2009 with his debut album, The Good Feeling Music of Dent May and His Magnificent Ukulele, on Animal Collective's Paw Tracks label. His latest album, Across the Multiverse, which features collaborations with Frankie Cosmos, came out on Car Park Records last year. Today, I have Dent May here at my house, my friend. Wonderful singer and songwriter from Mississippi, but now resident of Los Angeles. Dent, thank you for coming to my house.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Ross, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, your last album, Across the Multiverse, came out at the end of last year, or beginning of this year?
It was like August of last year, I believe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you're about to go on another tour for that album?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been touring as much as possible, doing another like full month-long tour in the United States. So if you're listening from a random city in America, I'm probably coming your way soon. Was in Europe for a few weeks earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How have
fun.
the shows been?
Good. I mean, I think that they've been like bigger and better than ever.
Yeah.
Not you know, and I like my bandmates that I play with, and I'm having fun traveling and touring. I can't complain.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Are you in the process of writing a forthcoming Dent May album?
I'm writing a lot of songs. Actually, the last few weeks, I've been writing like songs almost every day. It's kind of funny. I go through these crazy phases. Like probably for the 6 months after my album came out, I didn't write one single song. And then I was talking to my friend Kyle, who plays bass in my band, and I was like, I haven't written a song in so long. He's like, well, let me come over. Let's write some songs together. And we wrote some really stupid songs together. And then like the next day I was like, that was pretty easy. And so I like wrote another song. And the next day I was like, and so I'm doing this thing where I say I have 3 hours to write and record a demo. And so I try to like, even if it's on my phone, but sometimes I actually do like pull up Logic and stack some tracks and try to write a song. Usually like the lyrics need some tweaking obviously and stuff, but I'm trying to just like put the work in, and I have a bunch of songs. So I will be recording another album probably later this year in my new studio I've been building. So yeah.
That's awesome. When you do that everyday sort of process, like how much of that material do you think actually makes its way like onto a record, or is that a process that you've done before, and then it's just a matter of like, you know, tweaking and picking which ones are, you know, the standouts?
I would say like in the past, most of the songs I wrote would end up on albums because I was not writing as many songs. And like I feel like this time around I'm trying to write a lot of songs and pick maybe like a third of them to actually put on an album. I feel like in the last few weeks I've probably recorded just like I've probably written like 6 or 7 songs, and maybe 2 or 3 of them will end up on an album. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. When was the last time you were in Mississippi?
I'm in Mississippi a lot. Let's see. I was in Mississippi. I guess it was Christmas actually, but I'm going next week actually to go to my friend's wedding, and then I'm going again in July to play a show on tour.
Okay, cool.
And then I'm going again in August, September for a wedding. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty much in Mississippi like 4 or 5 times a year, either to play a show, for Christmas, or for someone's wedding.
Yeah. How is it over there? I mean, like because that was you grew up in Oxford?
I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, which is the capital of Mississippi, but I lived in Oxford for 10 years.
Okay. So was Oxford where you kind of started playing music? Yeah,
well, I mean, I started playing music in Jackson. I was in a bunch of bands in junior high and high school, like some really funny pop punk and emo bands.
Yeah.
And then, I was in Oxford when I started like making music and touring and being serious about it. I went to college there at the University of Mississippi, and Oxford's a great place. It's got a lot going. It's a really small town, but it's got a lot going on. There's a great bookstore called Square Books. There's Fat Possum Records. There's a great record store called The End of All Music. It's definitely like sort of a progressive like arts kind of bubble within like the greater kind of conservative Mississippi
Sure.
situation. Although Jackson, where I grew up, is a pretty liberal place. So it's kind of, I think it's like people think of Mississippi as this like crazy backwards place, which it is in many ways, but
Right.
like the general thing is like cities are like progressive and like rural areas are like
Yeah, in
not
college
kind
towns.
of everywhere in college
Yeah.
towns. So I definitely grew up in like a very progressive bubble in Mississippi,
Yeah.
around a lot of like writers and musicians.
Right.
So, but it did start to kind of wear on me. Like I like went back to visit during like right before the like election, and it was like there was a lot of Trump stuff everywhere,
Sure.
and it was really like disheartening. And so
Sure.
yeah, it's like I don't know. There's obviously a very there's a civil rights history of Mississippi that's
Right.
really dark, and there's a lot to like reckon with as like a white Southerner, I think. But I think the crowds I hang out with are like just working as hard as they can to make Mississippi a better place for everyone, and
Totally, yeah.
that's like I think an important thing to be working towards. So
Yeah.
um,
And I think it inspires a spirit of like you kind of need to work harder to be good and
Mhm.
work harder to be a creative person and like be an artist and whatnot. Like my family's from Kansas, but they're from Lawrence, Kansas, which is like the Oxford of Kansas, like college town, very liberal city, but yeah, in the middle of this very right-wing, very socially conservative place, and people, have sometimes more of an inspired like attitude toward, music and arts and doing their thing and like convincing people from big cities that like this town actually is great and there's like a lot of cool stuff going on there.
yeah, the other funny thing about Mississippi is it's like tagline when you like get to Mississippi, it's like the birthplace of America's music.
Right.
So it's like blues and rock and roll and country music could all be argued that
Yeah.
were like came to be in Mississippi, and I grew up
Sure.
2.5 hours from New Orleans, whereas jazz was invented and stuff. So
Right.
there's like famous writers like William Faulkner and stuff, and so
Right.
there is like an appreciation for the arts, but it's also like this weird subculture of weird people who are kind of like the other. Where like here in Los Angeles, it's like, oh yeah, so
Yeah.
you're working in the arts, that's like the norm. But
Yeah.
but I think that it's like there's always this like part of the community that's like, oh, they're like the artist person.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was that much of a part of like your, I don't know, your upbringing or like your entrance into music, like that, the history of music from the South, like that being part of what you were doing personally at all?
Maybe subconsciously, but
Yeah.
actually like growing up, I thought that the blues was really corny.
Yeah.
Because like today it's like these like middle-aged white dudes who are playing
Right.
the blues. It's like
Yeah.
been totally like
Even
turned
in the
into
South.
sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, and as I got older, I found the Fat Possum put out the Hill Country Blues, these R.L. Burnside, Jr., Kimbrough. But then the like the real like old school people who like make that kind of music. It's like a dying thing, in my opinion. People would probably disagree, but yeah, like my first like impressions of like Southern music were like kind of corny, like Cracker Barrel, like kind of, in my opinion, like sort of tourist trap
Right.
stuff. And similar
Yeah.
same thing with like New Orleans music is
Right.
and all that stuff. And then like where like it wasn't until I was actually college age where I started to appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know. I think that I was more inspired by the literary history of Mississippi. Like my neighbor was Eudora Welty, who's like a pretty amazing, famous writer, and William Faulkner is like a
Yeah.
really big deal in
Definitely.
Oxford. I worked at like 2 independent bookstores in Jackson and Oxford. Met a lot of writers that were coming through. So, and a lot of my friends in Oxford were like writing students.
Cool.
So that was kind of more like my thing. Where like, oh yeah, I don't have to like get a real job. I can like make stuff.
Right.
And, like find a way for that to be my thing.
So that was that realization came more from the writers than other people playing music.
I think so. I can't really think of any. I mean, my great uncle was a concert pianist and like went to Juilliard and stuff, but so that might have been subconscious. But I can't think of any like role models or heroes I had in Mississippi that were like professional musicians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, like one of the songs that we'll talk about later I chose was like by Brandy. I can name a lot of like inspirational musicians who are from Mississippi, but it wasn't like people I knew personally.
Right.
And it wasn't like I saw Brandy on MTV and said that should be me, you know. But yeah, so knowing writers, I think probably was more like directly like inspiring me to pursue making stuff as an actual profession.
Yeah, I mean that Southern, like Faulkner era Southern lit is like, I don't know, just some of the most like so full of energy and like so romantic in a way that, you know, like the kind of more I'm a sad tortured guy from New York City vibe like doesn't, it's not the same thing at all.
Yeah, sort of, but you know, you have stuff like Flannery O'Connor. You have some pretty dark, you know, they call it Southern Gothic. So you know, there's some pretty dark Southern writing and stuff, but there's also a lot of humor. There's like a storytelling tradition, I think, in Southern culture, which I was talking to another interview thing about this, where like, yeah, like just the reading a lot growing up and knowing writers and telling stories and stuff has kind of contributed to my songwriting style, which isn't necessarily storytelling oriented, but it's like you can read the lyrics, you know what the song's about, like the song title is like the theme of the song. You know what I mean? It's like it is more like, like it's not like stream of consciousness, just gibberish. It's like actually like a song is like a short story to me. You know what I mean?
More overt kind of than like a, you know, you don't have to read too much into it, but it's still kind of like a beautiful image based, character based type of thing.
Totally.
Yeah, that's cool. So you sent me 5 songs. You want to listen to the first one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
Dancing in the city.
So that was Marshall Hain with Dancing in the City, which was kind of a hit for them. Marshall Hain's the name of the duo.
Yeah, apparently. You probably know more than I do.
Well, okay, so what I know is that they were a very short-lived group. They had this song in 78, and then they disbanded the following year, and they tried to follow it up with this ballad that was like kind of on the charts but a lot lower, and then that was it.
Yeah, like it's like sometimes I wonder about these like so-called hits. I mean, I think it's probably more of a hit in the UK or something, but it's like it's got a couple million views on YouTube. I'm kind of like, I'm always curious, like, who remembers this song? Because like, and I love the song deeply. That's why I picked it. And I've noticed that at least one or two of my other friends have like picked up on it recently. And my theory of this is like YouTube algorithms that like provide us the same.
It's
like
a real
it's
thing.
really crazy. I noticed like Veli Junas, that song was on yours.
Dude, yeah,
and it's
everybody knows
everyone
that
knows that song,
now.
and it's like it's totally the YouTube algorithm is like pumping this like obscure,
it's crazy
deep cuts to heads. It's
and,
really funny.
Yeah, and the Spotify related artists algorithm.
Well, of course. I mean, we're definitely
can make careers for people.
I mean, we're definitely like moving towards an algorithm based existence in every capacity of our lives. It's so scary, but for better or worse, YouTube does an okay job at telling you what to listen to next or something, I guess. That's definitely like where I found this song.
Yeah, what's the Dent May algorithm? Where do you noticed any like get here on YouTube, get here on whatever?
I have no idea. I think it's to be honest like a lot of indie pop that I don't listen to.
Yeah, right.
But I think like people like Ariel Pink and stuff.
Sure.
Sort of. They pipe me into stuff like that. I don't really know who. I'm trying to think who, like the band Tennis, like just like random indie pop bands. I think. If you, I don't know. So a lot of them I never heard, or I get compared to a lot of people that I never heard or don't even like at all. You know what I mean? I don't even listen to like a lot of like indie pop music.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
So this song, it's interesting because it's like. Dancing in the City, it's sort of just this fun-loving, like, let's go have a good night type of thing. But it's also, there's some really surprisingly dark lyrics in there. Like, she says, like, darkness calls, something, 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 like, coming to steal your soul.
Yeah.
And it is sort of, I don't know, just this deceptively, like, creepy, I don't know, underlying thing.
Yeah, it's got sort of a melancholy vibe.
Yeah. But
it's about like dancing in the city and going out, which is maybe that's why I'm drawn to it. I definitely like the dichotomy, like the push and pull of like dark and versus light, or like light sounding songs with dark lyrics and stuff is definitely like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I try to do that a lot in my own music.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting song. It's got the hand claps that are off. Everyone talks about the hand claps. It's like chop off the wrong. It's like on the weird beat. But yeah, it's definitely a sort of moody, melancholy song about like going out dancing. I don't know.
And it's, I mean, really good sounds. The road sound at the beginning is really cool, and the hand claps are interesting. How'd you find it?
I think the YouTube algorithm just kind of blessed me with it. I think. That's a good question. I don't really have a really compelling reason why I chose this song, except that I've listened to it a whole bunch lately. So it seemed like a good thing to share because I like it.
To what extent do you do like intentional listening? Like when you're working on an album, working on writing or recording, are you really trying to like seek out stuff that you want to emulate sound-wise or writing-wise?
Yeah, a lot. But I try to do it both ways where like I'll specifically not try to listen to music in some instances.
Oh, really?
And then in other instances, I will search for inspiration, whether it's like sonically or songwriting wise. But I try to pull from a lot of like diverse things, like not necessarily just like 70s retro pop that maybe like people might associate my music with.
Sure.
Like trying to listen to like 90s R&B and rap and like try to find some sort of weird lead synth sound that's like totally from a different era and definitely like songwriting. I mean, there's all kinds of like subconscious like lifting of ideas from songs all the time. But and drum sounds. I remember when we were recording drums for my album, we pulled up this album by this band Pages, which is kind of just like a Steely Band kind of rip-off sounding band with just like amazing 70s dry drum sounds. And just, I'm definitely pulling up music to intentionally like listen to for inspiration to my own music. But also then sometimes I got to shut it off for a while because
like you won't
sometimes I spend too much
all.
time listening to music and I didn't end up writing a song. You know what I mean? So I'll kind of try to keep it like, be like, okay, now I'm just going to write all day and not listen to music.
Right. Which phase of that are you in right now?
I don't know. I mean, definitely more writing phase right now. But it's just kind of both. I mean, I might go through both phases in one single day. It's just that like I got to be careful because sometimes I will just spend hours listening to music and looking for music on YouTube that I haven't heard before. Like literally, will spend hours doing it.
Yeah.
So I try to be like, okay, I listened to like 5 songs. Now I'm gonna step back and just make music.
Yeah. What's your is YouTube like your go-to source for like finding new stuff? I
think for finding music, it's YouTube. I definitely use Spotify a lot as like my listening thing. So I'll like see if it's on Spotify and like add it to a playlist or something, or like save the album to listen to later because I listen to Spotify a lot. But definitely like looking for stuff I've never heard before. I think YouTube is my go-to for sure.
Yeah.
Especially lately, like just the 1970s is like just great. I love the sounds, like I mentioned, dry drum sounds. You know, I'm like, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it. I've been listening to like mainstream, like James Taylor albums and stuff.
Yeah.
Like Carly Simon. Like I almost picked a Carly Simon song for this.
I mean, yeah, the Carly Simon stuff, the sounds are incredible on those albums.
Yeah. I love how clean everything is, yet very warm and organic.
Yeah.
And natural. And I think also another big part of it is just the playing. You know, being really good at your instruments is kind of undervalued, I think, now. Yeah. And people who know how to record them and stuff like that, it's just like you read about the techniques for like mixing and engineering and producing, and it's like very little EQ, very little compression, just like really good sounds, really good musicians, really good songs, expensive microphones. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because that's the era where it sort of started switching from like, oh, that's not necessarily the way we need to record. Like we can do all kinds of other stuff.
Well, definitely the 70s is when they started to like crazy EQ stuff. So I don't know about, these particular songs. Some of them are like heavily EQ'd. Yeah. But like I've definitely read interviews with like, the engineer on like Steely Dan's Asia, and they're like, EQ is overrated. And I think that like kind of the late 70s into the 80s is when they really started just going crazy, like overproducing everything and that's EQing the hell out of everything.
It's amazing though because that album is like, I think of as just like the ultimate studio album.
Asia? Yeah. Oh, that's like, if you can like Google like best sounding album of all time, just Google that, like that album comes up in like every list, every conversation.
And that guy was saying like barely any EQ. Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Like I think Neil Young Harvest, they claim that there's like no EQ or compression on the whole album or something.
Yeah, but that makes a lot more sense because that album, I mean, it's amazing, but it sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's a little muddy.
Yeah. So, that makes me curious. How much do you play on your album? Do you play everything but the drums?
On the new album, I played everything but drums and then like horns and strings.
Okay, cool.
And then there was some pedal steel I didn't play.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm increasingly interested in doing like a proper studio album with like really good musicians playing at least like bass, drums, guitar, and keys and stuff. And yeah, like the more I listen to music, I start to realize like the musicianship and stuff, I really want to like go next level with it. But I also am really like a lot of contemporary music that is made on computers completely. So it's like trying to like split the difference where you have some like sort of really contemporary sounds that are like just kind of mixed in with like a real like natural live drum or just band sound. And I'm things like recording to a click and stuff. It's like I don't even it's like so many of the best recordings just like drift in tempo the whole song. It doesn't really matter. And so I have a lot of theories about like, how quantized music is kind of like, loses something obviously. Right. And there's a lot of producers now that will record a real drummer and then quantize it and then replace the drum sounds with samples. Yeah. At that point you're like, why didn't you just play this with your fingers on a sample pad? You know what I mean? I don't get it at all.
It's funny. I've been like kind of obsessively listening to Transformer.
Oh, cool.
Just like, for whatever, like songwriting stuff. And yeah, those songs, it's amazing if you just like start at the like you go from the end back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's like they've slowed down. You wouldn't believe how much they've slowed down.
Right.
It's so funny. It makes it's like inspiring. Just like, oh well, this is like the best album of all time. And they didn't have perfect anything.
Yeah. One thing I learned recently is that Merriweather Post Pavilion, the Animal Collective album, was not recorded to a click, which is entirely sample based. It's like entirely sample based. It's all electronics, like played on samplers and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just like 3 people like jamming on samplers and stuff. So like I feel like there is a contemporary way to like not, have robotic music.
Yeah, true. Because they were kind of integral to your career at the beginning.
Well,
right?
they recorded that album in Mississippi, where I lived, and I met them, and they like signed me to their label,
right.
and I toured with them. So yeah, they're one of my favorite bands.
Are you still in touch?
Not that much, but yeah, a little bit. I mean, not that much, but if we run into each other, if I go to one of their shows or something, it's like, yeah, it's good.
Cool.
They're delightful people.
Cool. Let's check out the next track.
Okay.
Upon this piece of earth, I choose to build my church. Heaven is within, my man, my friend. My friend. Times have changed. Things are totally different than they were back at the dawn of the dark ages. I gotta tell you, if you don't change with the times, you definitely could be left behind. Check this out. Tell me, creator. Oh,
That was the song Super Spirit by Junie Morrison.
Good stuff. Pretty good stuff.
So Plush Funk is the name of the George Clinton Family Series album from 92 that this song comes from. And the whole album is really, really amazing, but I feel like this is kind of a standout track.
Yeah, this is a standout track for all of humanity, in my opinion.
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
my God. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know if it was recorded for a Junie Morrison album because he had albums or what, but it was never, I don't know that it was ever even released until that Plush Funk series. I'm not sure.
I don't think it was, because
Yeah.
I was looking to see if there was an album that this was from, because I wanted to, hear the rest of it, obviously, but I
Yeah.
don't think...
There's a really good, like, Junie Morrison, like, collection or, like, box set or something on Spotify that has, other really great stuff. But this one's, like, the most insane song on there. And he was a bass player in Ohio Players.
Right. And then he became the musical director of P-Funk.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible. The song structure is just crazy.
Yeah, it's just so creative.
Yeah.
And strange and and risky and just weird and and it goes back to what we were saying about musicianship and it's like you can't make this in Ableton Live. You cannot.
Yeah.
It's just and it's just bursting with personality.
Totally.
And I'm realizing more and more the best songs ever are just like taking risks and they're just like full of personality that like is undeniable.
Yeah, and that's also, I mean, specifically like the sound that like P-Funk and like the related world of that stuff and like Sly and the Family Stone, it's just like such a unique, like that really like strained vocal sound, and he's way up there and it sounds so cool and no one else could really or ever even really tried to do like anything like that because it does sound so weird and so not like something that you would go see a great musician do or something necessarily, right. But it's so weird and it's so cool and they were kind of just like doing whatever they wanted to do. Yeah.
It's very like unhinged or something like that.
Yeah, it is.
But probably what happened is they recorded this and some music industry executive was like, no, this is too weird to be released or something. And it's just only in retrospect that like people get it or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a cool thing. Yeah.
So the Plush Funk album came out in 1992, but I assume this song must be from earlier than that.
Yeah, it's from the 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe the late 70s.
Yeah. And he Junie was like in the heyday of Parliament Funkadelic, like was responsible for a lot of that great stuff, like writing parts, and he was very much integral to it, like second to George Clinton maybe.
Right, I think so.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Really good.
It's crazy stuff. Yeah, I actually heard about that song because Solange Knowles name dropped it.
I was about to bring that up, yeah, because she has that song Junie. I mean, it's like an homage to him as a whole, but she wrote this whole thing specifically about how like hearing this song was a big moment for her.
Or like Q-Tip played it for her.
Yeah. And so she wrote the song Junie about this song and about him, and I think it was a big deal. I think it's always cool, when like young artists like that can sort of make a nod to a legend from a few decades ago, and then kids that are listening to the Solange album like may go check out Parliament Funkadelic or like go check out Junie Morrison. It's a cool way to find music for young people, I think.
Yeah, totally.
Do you remember when you first heard this song?
I mean, not really specifically. I I was just like stoned in my bedroom, like probably like with YouTube on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's definitely what happened.
Yeah.
And I freaked out.
Yeah.
And I immediately, like put it on some playlist and listened to it a million times in my car. And then everybody gets in my car and that song's playing. And they're like, what the hell is this? It's happened a million times.
Yeah. And so do you listen to a lot of P-Funk stuff?
Yeah. I listen to a lot of funk and soul and 80s funk. Like big time, like jazz funk and stuff like that. Like almost put a Donald Byrd song on here. Like I love when jazz goes funk in the 70s and pop funk, and some of it's weirder and some of it's smoother.
Totally.
There's this production duo called the Mizell Brothers that I was reading about yesterday that did a lot of the Donald Byrd stuff. This guy Gary Bartz, which has some really cool records. Yeah, like tons and then like they went on to produce like Boogie Oogie Oogie and like some other like disco hits and stuff. So yeah, I love disco, I love funk, I love soul and bass lines and funky rhythms. So part of it's because I DJ a lot, and that's just kind of what I gravitate towards there.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. You think you'll ever write a song like Super Spirit?
Yes, I do. But I don't know. I don't know if we like that. But I mean, yeah, some crazy funky stuff. Yeah, I'm down. I'm trying to do that.
Hell yeah.
As soon as you came bouncing through the door, you and your mans and them just took over the floor. Started doing your thing, and it made me notice you even more. The way you turned around and looked at me, it seemed as though you must have somehow felt me staring on the low. Something tells me you're the kind of guy I'd like to get to know. I ain't even gonna front, I ain't even gonna lie. Since you walked up in the club, I've been giving you the eye. We can dance if you want, get it crackin' if you like. Must be a full mood, feel like one of those nights. Is this the first time that I'm seeing you around? Could you be visiting or are you new in town? Yeah, whatever the case, I'm feeling you right here and right now. And all the love you're showing lets me know that you like what you see and wanna get to know me too. This could very well be the start of something special. Happy that I met you. I ain't even gonna front, I ain't even gonna lie. Since you walked up in the club, I've been giving you the we can you want. Cracking if you like. A full moon.
Brandy, Full Moon, the title track from her third album, after a 5-year hiatus. After her acting career kind of came to a halt after Moesha ended. It's a really good song.
I know, it's just another random song that I've been into lately. As I mentioned earlier, Brandy's from Mississippi, so I was always a fan. I had her like first album on CD when I was in junior high and stuff like that. And this song was produced by this guy Rodney Jenkins, aka Dark Child, who did like I think he might have done "The Boy Is Mine" by Brandy and Monica, and I know he did It's Not Right But It's Okay, Whitney Houston, is that, I think. And then like a bunch of like that kind of era, like late 90s, early 2000s, I think, stuff like.
Well, this song,
Jennifer Lopez song,
he did most of this album, but he didn't produce this song.
Oh really? Well, that's interesting.
This guy Mike City, who did like stuff like Nate Dogg and Chris Brown and Faith Evans stuff, and apparently like it sounds different than a lot of the other stuff on this album. But yeah, Rodney Jenkins was like her main guy for the record before this and this one.
Cool.
And he, I guess for this album, like wanted to give her a lot more creative control than she had previously. So a lot of, all the sort of like thematic stuff, and she was intentionally trying to like become like challenge herself more as a vocalist, like range wise and stuff. So it's kind of like deeper and darker a little bit than, because when she came out it was very like teeny bopper kind of pop stuff, and this is not that. This is Full Moon, scary. I know,
yes. A little moody, a little scary. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a great song. What's your favorite Brandy song?
Well, I really like, there's like a few from the first album, Best Friend, Baby, I think it's called, and then what's the other one? Yeah, I don't know. Definitely like the first album that she did, I believe that's the first album. It was just like, I listened to it a whole bunch when I was like in junior high school. And yeah, a lot of good tunes.
Yeah. Did she have an album after this one?
Probably.
Like one more or something?
Probably. I don't know. I wonder, I feel like she might have done something recently. I don't know.
Oh, really?
Maybe not that recently, but I feel like I saw her in the news at some point recently.
I feel like she's, like people are revisiting her stuff a lot these days for some reason.
That's good. She deserves it. I think something weird happened, like aside from her brother, like being in like Kim Kardashian snafu, like her brother Ray J. I don't know about that. Her brother Ray J's in the sex tape. But like I think she might have had some legal troubles or like bad press or something at some point. I don't know. But she's awesome. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you know what town she's from?
Macomb, Mississippi, I believe, which is a small town near where my dad grew up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's definitely a super small town. I don't know much about her story, about how she broke out of it, or got discovered or whatever you call it. But yeah, it's a really small town.
Huh. So when you listen to a Brandy song, is that something where you're thinking like, I want to try this sound. I want to, see what's up with this kind of world of, whatever sounds.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely like look to 90s and 2000s R&B and pop for inspiration all the time, which I think people might not as often like get when they hear my tunes. But yeah, like on this song, like the bass synth, like, or just like the synth, I don't know, like I want to like incorporate stuff like that. I've been actually downloading and I'm thinking about buying like more like 90s digital workstations. Like there's like the Korg, I don't even remember what they're called. I mean, like the motif was like a big one, but there's like another like Korg that's like before that, Korg Trinity. There's a Korg Trinity that's done like a ton of those albums. There's these like modules called like the MoFat and Planet Fat, PHATT.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They're like
yeah.
purple,
Okay.
and you can have like $100.
Yeah.
I downloaded like sample packs of all that kind of stuff.
That's cool,
So I'm definitely
man.
like interested in incorporating those sounds. But you know,
Uh-huh.
my songwriting style is what it is. So some might not even grab that. But also like sometimes the kick and snare drum patterns and stuff. Not necessarily this song in particular, which is
Right.
very straightforward.
Right.
But actually, yeah, like I mean, I probably shouldn't say this on. But like I have been known to do things like I'll pull up like a hit that I remember from
Right.
the 90s and 2000s and then just like copy the kick and snare pattern.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And then I'll just leave it at that. And a lot of times it's really simple. It'll be like kick, snare, kick,
Yeah.
kick, snare, kick, kick. You know, you're like,
But
oh.
don't you think everybody does
Yeah,
that?
of course. I mean, I know that the Beatles and Bob
Yeah.
Dylan did that. You know,
Yeah.
I know that that a lot of people do that. But
I don't
so
think
yeah,
it's
like
so
I
wrong.
definitely I have a new song that I'm working on that I took like a Destiny's Child song, which I won't even say which one. You can figure it out if you want, if it ever comes out. And I just took the kick and snare pattern
Yeah.
and the tempo as
Yeah.
sort of a vibe.
Okay,
It's actually
cool.
funny. I was inspired by this. It's what are they called? How to Have a Number One the Easy Way by, God, what were they called? They were like they were like pranksters. They burned £1 million cash. I'm just gonna Google this really quick. How to Have a Number One the Easy Way by the KLF. You ever listen to them? They have like an ambient album. They're actually like were like pop pranksters in the UK, and they
Really?
like the song that like plays at baseball games. That samples Gary Glitter. Like they like did the version. They did something like that. They did stuff like
Crazy.
that, and like some of that's. I think it's that one. They sampled Gary Glitter.
Okay.
And into like a sports anthem, and it like made them tons of money.
Wow.
And they did a thing where they burned $1 million cash, and they wrote this kind of satirical book pamphlet called "How to Have a Number One the Easy Way," and it's like go to like the most cutting edge like nightclub you can find that plays music, and then go there and then like stay there for like a couple hours, and like the song that like the crowd just goes crazy to, like write that down and like and then use that as your groove.
Yeah.
And then it's like take a bass line from a different song. And then it's like the lyrics don't matter at all.
Yeah,
You can say anything you
right.
want. Just make it be really simple and catchy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just really
Yeah.
funny. But then I was like, so
It's not far off. Though.
it's actually pretty accurate to how I think a lot of people work.
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people that will lift chord progressions.
Totally.
But I always try to like twist it to something that is totally me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Change it, but like use it as a starting point.
Yeah, but I mean, I think when you're doing it overtly that way, it's like it's kind of a cool just like practice of being part of like the musical ether or something, It's like it's the way I think such a huge majority of great music gets made.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's not like that every song of mine does that musically, but there has to be some sort of inspirational jump off point. And sometimes it's a lyrical or a idea or thematic idea that like kickstarts me singing a line.
Yeah.
And other times it's like, oh, like I love this like groove. You know what I mean? Or I love like the way this bass line is, or this vocal melody or chord progression. You know what I mean?
And does that just apply to songs, or do you think about that like when you're like on the scope of an album at all? Like, I want to make my whatever it is.
Not really. I don't think about albums like that, but I do just kind of feel like, just from having listened to thousands, or if not like a million of them, like thinking about what's like the ideal, experience of listening to an album with like varying the vibes of the songs while still having it be cohesive, or making sure it's not too long or too short. I mean, yeah, but I'm not like kind of trying to emulate some sort of album or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's hard enough to try to write songs. It kind of, part of it's just like, oh, I have enough songs for an album. Let's do it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Totally. Yeah.
That's cool.
a better man with the kindness that you give.
Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. No, we can't. If we want, yes, we can. Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Wait, gosh, your mind. Yes, we can. I know we can. Make this land a better land than the world in which we live.
Help each man be a better man with the kindness that you give. Get together now.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Get together now.
Make this land a better land than the world in which we live.
And help each man be a better man with the kindness that you give.
Yes, we can. I know we can. Yes, we can. Oh, why can't we? If we want, yes, we can.
Yes, We Can, parts 1 and 2, by, I don't know, would you say it's by Lee Dorsey, or would...
Yeah, it's by Lee Dorsey.
Yeah.
Produced by Alan Toussaint. I
Yeah.
slipped up and said it was by Alan Toussaint. Because I heard the song, but I've been listening to that compilation I sent you, which is a compilation of
Toussaint.
Alan Toussaint productions.
Right. And he wrote it too.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably. I mean, it just seems like so much of that New Orleans, like 60s and 70s music was just Alan Toussaint with really talented
Just
people
him,
and singers and the meters. I mean, and like the meter, meters playing backup and
The meters...
talented singers.
Yeah.
I mean, not to diminish Lee Dorsey's like talent and
Right.
and contributions to the music, which is probably pretty huge. But
Yeah. But yeah, he did, I mean, pretty much all of Lee Dorsey's stuff,
Mhm.
right, was Alan Toussaint produced and written, and the meters were the band.
it seems like it.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's certainly like the 60s, 70s stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what if Lee Dorsey had a later career or not.
Yeah.
But
I don't think so.
yeah, no, and it's insane how much of that New Orleans music is that. You know what I
Right.
mean? All the meter stuff. There's just got Ernie K. Doe. I'm really into.
Mhm.
There's a ton of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I growing up. I didn't think I liked that music because it was so. It reminded me of like really tourist
Sure.
stuff in New
Yeah.
Orleans on Bourbon Street that was
Yeah.
gross. But then you realize like, oh, this was like beautiful and genius, and I like how it's like a community thing. It's like a part. It's
Right.
like a bunch of people that knew each other,
Right.
and that like all played on the albums, and
Yeah.
out of probably just like one studio or a couple different studios.
Yeah.
Um,
And we're doing, I mean, just doing it so much and kind of like the same way all the time
Mhm.
in this really cool way. It's like, there's not a whole lot of like, oh, like the sound went here and then
Mhm.
they like did this, whatever. They,
yeah.
changed it into this other thing. It's
Yeah.
kind of all just
Yeah.
sounds great
Yeah.
and very similar, and the songs are just so amazing that you want to listen to all of it.
Right. It's like similar to other like kind of music hit factories like Motown
Yeah.
or like the Muscle Shoals thing where you
Right.
have like this group of musicians that plays on every song, and
Right.
they've doing it so long they know what to do, and like here's a great song and a great
Yeah.
singer, and let's just like cut the song in like an hour or
Right.
like less. It's like we played it 3 or 4 times, and then the third take was amazing, so here we go.
Right.
And they would probably cut an entire album in one day back then. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And I guess, so this is 70, I think. Yeah. 1970, and I guess sort of like the funky sound for Toussaint is new-ish at this point, and it's so cool. Like the guitar playing, the muted thing is unbelievable.
Yeah, the groove is incredible.
It's crazy.
It is just insane. It feels superhuman.
Yeah, I just love like really simple records from this era where all you're thinking about is being in the room with the people playing. And because it's amazing how much each part stands out. And like what we were talking about before, like, before EQing, before, panning and whatever else, it's just like you set up some mics, everybody's playing perfectly, everybody is really listening to each other and giving each other the space they need as instruments and as a singer to just like have everything be heard. And it's really impressive.
Totally. And the simplicity, there's something to be said. It's interesting, like, I'm a chord progression nerd,
Right.
but like this song, it just stays on a chord for like 30 seconds, if not like a minute.
Yeah.
Then just like goes to like the next one and then goes back to the first one. And it's just like, just about just staying in the pocket in the groove of this one chord. So I've been experimenting with just trying things like that. And also that Brandy song we heard was also really simple, not much of a crazy chord progression. It's just like, I don't know.
Thematically, it's a simple song too in a funny way, because it's like they clearly, we're like, all right, let's make a political song. Yeah. But really, all it is just like, everybody just be cool.
We can do it. Yeah, like, we can do it. We can do it. Yeah. Like, was this song used as like for like Obama or something? I feel like it was. I don't know.
Really?
I was wondering that, like, if politicians use this song, because it does feel like such a, like, let's do it together kind of a
right.
thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's like a power to the people thing. And there is one line about like, men, you should respect women, which is cool that that's in there. But it's not, it's not like, the war is bad, like we must, it's just like, there's no subject other than just like, take it easy.
I mean, sometimes I think a song like that can be more powerful, because if a song is like a very specific protest anthem about like a specific incident or issue, it like kind of limits its audience in a way. Like, so that in this case, you kind of are like, oh, I'm dancing this song, and then you're like, oh wait, what is it saying? It's like saying that we should love each other. You're like, damn, like I've like, I'm not saying it's going to cause someone like turn their life around or something, but it's like going to encourage, good things. It's just going to encourage people being nice, and that's really important and powerful. And sometimes saying it in a really simple way, or a way that feels vague, but it's gonna like just kind of appeal. It's just gonna like kind of like get a lot of different people like listening.
Totally. So when did you sort of change your mind about this kind of music, like going from, I don't like this because it's touristy?
I think I realized I kind of realized I liked some of it, like probably really a long time ago, but I think probably that guy Ernie K-Do and some of the 60s soul stuff, less funky stuff. There was this Minute Records, MINIT, and there's a compilation of that on Spotify, which there's the Lee Dorsey, like working in a coal mine, or some of the
sure.
Like, I don't know if this or what came out on Minute Records, but there's some Lee Dorsey on that. Cool. Or maybe like some of his other stuff, and then like tons of good stuff on that. And then I got more recently into like country funk style stuff. Like this kind of stuff fits into that category. There's also like these Light in the Attic compilations called Country Funk, which is like LA.
Yeah, those
it's
are
like
amazing.
LA country. It's like people from the South that came to LA to make it, and it's like kind of like more acoustic guitars and like harmonicas and like bluesy style over like really slick like studio funk. So like just in general, like the idea of like country funk has been really on my mind in the past 6 months or year. So I've been listening to this Alan Toussaint compilation really just in the past 6 months. Yeah. And this one is just like, I keep playing it. It's like I listen to a lot of music alone in my room, really loud, dancing while stoned. And this is one of those where I just like gets me like super hyped. Yeah. And then I'll just like shut it off and like make music.
That's awesome.
We made our love in the sand, and at the dawn we held our love hand in hand, and we listened to music the ocean was playing, the words that our two hearts were saying, that only two lovers can hear. Let us ride on the wheel while this moment is real. You're the light of my life. You are welcome to my charade. And this feeling, knowing you blessed me forever, and believing I have been touched by your love, and the pleasure of knowing that evening won't tear us apart. We can follow the sun till the daylight is gone. We can gaze at the sky till the night is over. Light of my life, you are welcome to my charade. And this feeling of knowing you blessed me forever. We can follow the sun till the daylight is gone. We can gaze at the sky till the night is over. Light of my life, you are welcome to my charade. And this feeling, knowing you blessed me forever. We can follow the sun till the daylight is gone. We can gaze at the sky till the night is over. Light of my life, you are welcome to my charade.
That was the Bee Gees. Charade. Mr. Natural is the album. 74. Incredibly sexy song.
Yeah, it's so sexy and smooth and romantic and blissful. Yeah, it's good. The whole album's good. That's one I've been listening to a lot that I'd never heard, didn't know about
Yeah.
until I found it a couple months ago.
Yeah. It's funny because I mentioned to you I have been listening to the first Bee Gees album religiously recently for the past like month or so. And it's just a completely different band.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, not to mention that like the next album, I think after this one, they went full on disco. So
Right. So this was Arif, what's his name? Arif Mardin.
yeah,
The producer.
super producer. I think.
Yeah. So this was his first album with them, and then they did Main Chorus next,
Yeah.
which was like the huge disco album.
Right.
Yeah. It's cool too because the sounds are kind of like right in between, you know, just being I mean, they're just amazing, interesting, sort of like atmospheric sounds in a way that is like neither what they were doing before nor what they did after.
Right. Totally transition kind of
Yeah.
thing for them, but also just the songwriting is so good.
So
It's
good.
kind of the opposite of the last song that had just one chord. This is like the chord progressions and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like incredibly written song. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess so Barry and Robin wrote this song, just the two of them,
Mm-hmm.
and most of the album, because the Maurice drinking problem
Oh, really?
started to become a thing.
Yeah.
And then became a lot more of a thing after
Right.
this album. So yeah, just an interesting, like, sound-wise and sort of personally, a lot going on for the Bee Gees in '74.
Totally. Yeah, like, I just love a good ballad like this. Like, I love the funky stuff, but then like this beautiful ballad. It's
Yeah.
just so smooth
Yeah,
and
totally.
soulful. I just like love it so much. And I've been listening to a whole lot of Bee Gees, kind of the whole career
Mhm.
kind of stuff, and especially there's always like some deep cut ballad or something. Even on the disco albums, there's,
Right.
and a lot of them are famous. How Deep Is Your Love, obviously, and stuff like
Sure.
that. But I even like last night, I was listening to some like '80s stuff. There's some kind of bad stuff and some really good stuff too. And,
Yeah.
I don't know, like obviously just incredibly talented guys, and I watched this BBC kind of documentary, hour-long documentary about them, which like totally glossed over like this stuff and a
Oh,
lot
really?
of it, but
Huh.
but it's just also they were like child prodigies.
I know,
like
it's
they had like a
crazy.
band when they were children.
Crazy.
And they're just so it's just like insanity, like
Yeah.
how talented and probably how much just hard work they put into like getting their thing together, and over the course of like 20 years, their like
Yeah,
20-year
I
career
know.
or whatever.
It's funny because we were just talking about the, like, Alan Toussaint thing and how that's all, like, yeah, the sound sort of is uniform and it's great. And the Bee Gees are, like, the parallel opposite of that. You know,
Mhm.
like, change so much every
Yeah,
record. And
right.
just mastered, like, they mastered the Beatles and they mastered, like,
Yeah.
disco.
Yeah.
You know?
And they definitely didn't record that song in an hour.
Yeah,
You know what I
definitely
mean?
not.
Like, there's the whole orchestra on it. and
Yeah.
It's a whole thing, which I love that. I love, like, really complex production.
Totally. Yeah. Who are your production idols or
That's a good question.
I remember we had a conversation about Van Dyke Parks a long time ago.
Yeah, I love Van Dyke Parks. I actually reached out to him to see if he wanted to work on my music, which he was interested in doing,
Wow.
but it just never ended up happening. It's cool. Like he's one of my heroes, but
Uh-huh.
like he said something like I was interested if you like wanted to collaborate on like arrangements and stuff, like string arrangements and
Mhm.
orchestral arrangements. Albums goes, and he was just like, I don't collaborate.
What?
You know, he was like, I do.
Yes, you do.
He's like, I arrange it, and then you record it or whatever, or then that's what it is. And I was like,
Really?
I respect that like kind of staunchness, and I feel like maybe he's probably been burned by like collaborations where he got
Sure.
like whatever. But I was kind of like, also I was like, oh, well, I already kind of have some melodic ideas for him
Uh-huh.
that like I kind of want like fleshed out by like a kind of someone who's better at it than I am.
Mhm.
So I just and I still would love to work with somebody like that. He's like one of my heroes.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know other producers that I really like. It's put me on the spot here.
Sorry.
Kurt Bocher.
Mm.
There's this guy named Kurt Bocher who did
Mhm.
like a lot of the really, really like psych pop, 60s psych pop
Yeah.
stuff, and like
Yeah.
really heavy arrangements, orchestrated.
Yeah.
Like I love that kind of stuff.
Cool.
And I love the band ELO a lot.
Yeah,
So like
totally.
I like go for a maximalist arrangement
Yeah.
quite a lot and
Yeah.
like all my music and part of it's just because I can't stop saying no to new ideas that pop up in my head. I just keep
Yeah.
stacking them and I'm increasingly trying to like learn when to like delete that one, mute this one,
Uh-huh.
and because I think that something that's really simple and direct is the most effective.
Totally.
But I just have a lot of fun with like just piling on ideas, and
Yeah.
it's hard to say no for me sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's a battle I fight with myself a lot
sure.
when I'm making music.
That was something I really loved about your last record, like, because I feel like there's this trend in the indie pop world to sort of like strip it back down and get like, you know, like a cool like tape delayed chorusy guitar part and like really simple drums and whatnot, and like that's kind of a sound that's like very in right now or whatever. But your record was just, yeah, it was like a whole universe of stuff and like a bunch of cool ethereal like sound effecty stuff going on, just like all out production.
Yeah, I again, I can't say no. I want to do it. Yeah, I do feel like it goes back to kind of, I think it's like, I blame the algorithm. I do kind of feel like everything sounds the same, and I read an article about how music is becoming more homogenous, like especially, and definitely top 40 stuff.
Sure.
It's all, everything, so it's like tropical house sound with those little fluty like lead, like, and then 5 years ago it was more like EDM oriented, like with harder like drops and stuff.
Right.
And it's because like you want to end up on a playlist that someone can put on shuffle or whatever, and they're not going to want to skip anything. So like it subconsciously encourages us to like fit in more with other people. And I think indie pop music is such a victim of that. It's like a formula. You get like a Juno 60 pad synth.
Exactly.
Dorsey guitar, bass line, like kind of detached vocal with a lot of reverb on it, and like bang, you like have like a band.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, there's definitely bands like that I probably really appreciate that are awesome and stuff, but
well, I think
like I want to like I want, personality is like what is exciting about like music to me. It's like something that like takes risks and is unexpected, and like only these artists could have done it. Like no one else could have done it, and so I'm not going to really get excited by like some sort of, I don't know. And some bands, like, I don't know why the XX comes to mind. I've never really listened to them, but they sound like them and no one else. But it's just so simple and stripped down and there that like I just like don't want to listen to it. It's not exciting to listen to at all to me. But they're like a talented, great band, obviously. I don't know. There's a ton of stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah.
Obviously, you can't bring everything that you put on your record on stage. So how do you reckon with that? Like, are you intentionally sort of like thinking about arrangements for the band, or is it just sort of like, you know, how do you translate that?
Yeah, I never think about the live performance when I'm writing and recording music. And but although sometimes I will think like I'm gonna write this song to be performed live, like the song "Hello Cruel World," which is the first song on my album. Was kind of written to open my set. But as far as the arrangements go, like I just kind of like, oh well, just for me, like the song is a failure if you can't just sing it with an acoustic guitar and it's good. You know what I mean? So, and with that in mind, 4 people on stage, if that's what you have going, play the parts the best you can. Always got to be a harmony or 2 in there. So I'm definitely like way down to like strip it down completely. To just get the song across the best way I can. And in some ways I think like the live show can be better, maybe not better, but like I do want to, again, like I kind of incorporate that a little bit to my albums in the future too, like kind of find the balance, the best of both worlds in a way, because I think that when like a band is playing together, if there's something special that doesn't happen when you're like in your bedroom like stacking kind of ideas or something like that.
Is that how you write, with the acoustic?
More piano lately.
But
it's a lot of acoustic too.
Yeah,
because I have a piano in my room that I've had for like 5 or 6 years.
Nice.
So mostly piano.
Is that what you started playing?
It is what I started playing on, but I'm not that good at it. I quit both piano and guitar. I like took lessons for a few years and then quit, and then like kind of learned the basics. Like I know some chords and scales, but I can't like do fancy stuff with my fingers and stuff at all. I'm just like playing chords and stuff. I'd like to get people on my records that are like really good at piano, but but I haven't done that yet, And same with guitar. It's like I can strum chords and play. I can make up guitar solos. My guitar solos are like very influenced by like Weezer or something, where it's like really pretty easy to play, really catchy. You can sing the guitar solo.
Of course,
I'm not like, I can't jam. People are like, let's jam, and I'm like, I don't know how.
Let's see. You're going on tour. You're writing the new record. Anything else going on that we should know about?
Not really. I mean, we had mentioned that like as I'm doing before we started recording, I think that I'm doing I'm building the studio here, and I am interested in collaborating with other people. So like thinking about producing or writing or
Great.
with other people is definitely like in my mind right now.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time to do it right now, but I have had a couple random collaborations. This guy like Benjamin Shoes, this like guy from Belgium, like asked me to sing on his song, and I like wrote a song over his instrumental. Like
Cool.
I like doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of a new thing for me, because being like alone in my room making music for years, I didn't have a lot of collaborations. So that's the exciting thing I'm kind of looking forward to trying out in the future.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Dent, thanks a lot for coming by.
No problem. Thank you for asking me to do it.
Thanks for listening to The Five. I'm your host, Ross Wallace Chait. You can follow me on Instagram at this_is_rot or on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/totalheat. Peace and love.